Scholars from across the world gathered on the grounds of Sa Temple in Pololo Valley, Oahu, to imagine a global, non-killing society. University of Hawaii political scientist Dr. Glenn D. Page, author of A Global Non-Killing Political Science, gathered guests from over 40 countries for consultation of this great idea.
We're going to move ahead now to another continent, to Africa, to Nigeria, and then with Mr. Fidelis Allen. After he's finished with his presentation, then we will have a discussion about the Philippines and Nigeria.
CGMD Nigeria has been doing its activities in 3 major areas. I'll begin with our radio television programs. The media has been very helpful to us. Currently, we have some partnership with the federal radio station in Port Harcourt called FM 98.5. We're in collaboration to run programs that involve people phoning in to ask questions on how to solve problems non-violently. We also run jingles on radio. We pay nothing for that. The radio runs, I think I came with a copy of the jingle. It's in my bag there. The radio station runs the jingles every day, and it is in Pidgin English. It is also in good English. It will interest you to know that because of that jingle on radio, a young lady who was almost decided on taking the lives of her 2 babies just decided to call, because we put our telephone numbers there. She called, and the first time she called, I was in a meeting in Port Harcourt with an NGO, having a meeting with local NGO. And I didn't want to pick the phone, right? Called again. She kept calling. I didn't pick the phone. And then once the meeting was done, I decided to call back. And she picked the phone. She said, either you will help me, or I'll kill my babies and kill the father of the baby. So she said, how can I see you? I want to see you. So I gave her a time to see me. She came, talked, and I discovered that she was depressed. She was psychologically thrown out. She was unhappy. And so our team decided to help her. Visited her, saw the babies, and mobilized some money to support her. Today she's a member of CGM. She's working with us. That was as a result of our radio program. Training programs. In recent times, myself and other members of the team, and let me quickly say that I'm not working alone. I have a good number of people who even know better than I do, who speak in our meetings and have been very, very helpful. So we're in collaboration with the Center for Environment, Human Rights and Development. It is a local NGO in Port Harcourt. I have some of their bulletins here. I think I have some more in the hotel room. But these ones actually carry reports on our training activities with them. We go to rural communities and talk to them about non-violent struggle and teach them about non-violent struggle. And very often, what really excites me is the excitement in them. And I tell you, every time we visit local areas to talk to them about non-violent alternatives for addressing their problems with the oil companies, we return happier than we went because of the excitement that we find in them. So even today, today is second, I am supposed to be speaking to a local group in one of the villages close to Port Harcourt. But I told them that I would be there because they are scheduled, and I don't know how they are going to do that, but I'm here and I can be there. And so we've had series of training programs in collaboration with this organization. And then we have our lecture, seminar, workshop series. And really, this is our pet program. What we do in this project that we titled the Nonviolent School Project, what we do is to make initial contact with the management of the secondary schools. We decided to dwell on the secondary schools because in the Niger Delta today, nearly every community is militarized. There is no one community in the Niger Delta that's oil-bearing that don't find local armor, that you don't find young people having a way to be able to get for themselves small weapons. And they are very, very young. And we noticed that among these people, the secondary school category of students are so pliable, they are so easy to recruit. We have senior cult members. Some of them are at universities and other tertiary institutions. Some are just illiterate young people in villages and the city of Harcourt and Buhendwa in Bayelsa State. They belong to some cult groups that are very, very violent, and they often go to the secondary school to recruit young people to join them. So sometimes you find those who perpetrate violence more from this category of persons. So we decided to move to the secondary school to try to talk with them and ultimately try to set up non-violent cells or nonviolent clubs with teachers as patrons, those clubs. So each time we go to the secondary school, we do not only talk with the students, we involve the teachers, but we make the teachers to sit separately from the students. While the teachers sit at one end, the students normally sit, in the open hall. So we address our speeches to the teachers and students at the same time. And it's been very, very successful and well received. Each time we go to the schools, the management of the school, the principal especially, will express so much gratitude, and the students are very happy hearing us, discussing with them, giving them the opportunity to ask questions and express their views of how we can actually achieve non-violent school system. We believe that if the school system is non-violent, it will have an effect on the state of violence in society. That's what we do through our programs, provide opportunities for students who would probably have been involved in some criminal violent activity to express themselves on how they can get out of it. And we do not only provide answers, we try to mobilize those who can help. Thank you.
Now, brothers and sisters, we have between now and 3 o'clock to engage in discussion. So if you have any questions or comments, you may address it to Mr. Fidelis or Dr. Abueva.
Academians stated that if the leaders want a non-killing society, it will work. Can you instead or explain how they put so much emphasis on the leaders, or why?
Among the many definitions of leadership, the one I like best is the simplest, one offered by Richard Tucker. Leadership, according to him, is basically doing three things. One is defining the problem or the situation. Two is finding a course of action to deal with the problem and the situation. And third is mobilizing the resources that are needed, material, non-material, and other resources. So it's in the defining of the problem. I think it must be obvious by now, I've spoken so often, that our leaders do not define our problems very differently from the way we see it. They assume that force, or killing actually, is necessary and inevitable. And to show proof, the second largest item in our budget, as I said, is for the military and the police. I forgot to say that there are many more security forces outside of the military and the police in our society. They guard many of the gated communities of our urban ghettos, our commercial establishments, cinemas and all that, all over, all malls and so on. So there is this really the belief that problem is political instability, is lawlessness, is rebellion, it's dissent. But if they were to define the problem differently, if they were to define it in terms of the obvious massive poverty in our country, the very obvious growing social inequality in our country, injustices, the landlessness, the homelessness, the fact that our public education is not of quality that we desire, because we spend our resources on other things, especially security, and health services also suffer. So the definition of the problem by our leaders is really vital. It's primary. If they were to look into, therefore, the problems underlying the violence, underlying the dissent, underlying the protests, underlying the instability, the political instability, which is very obvious, very manifest. The others are less manifest, but very real as well. So if our leaders, it will not be magical, it will not happen in a few years. It takes generations. But if our leaders begin to define problems more relevant to reality, from the point of view of the oppressed, of the poor, of the disenfranchised, of the powerless, we will begin to change the definition of problems that confront us and how we should allocate our resources dealing with this victim, and how we should spend our time, and how we should reorient our young people and our older people as well. And the media too. If the media could help to our leaders to redefine the perception of the problem, this will lead to the understanding of the reality of the problem. I think we go a long way. So that's my long answer to your question.
This is a question for Nigeria. How many youth ending up in the jail because of their activities? And are they arrested a lot and then spending time in the jail? And then what kind of condition the jails are?
We don't have statistics on the number of young people in jail, because most of the time the state security does its job without publicizing. For instance, the Joint Security Task Force operating in Port Harcourt right now has killed so many young people that have not been reported, because some made it, but because of the nature of the operations, they may have killed innocent people. Because I remember 3 months ago, I was alerted on the taking of a young man that I know from the area that is intensely militarized right now. It's called Bundu area of Port Harcourt. So we got there. It was risky anyway, because at that time the military was really serious at shooting. So but we got there, and just to find out where he was taken to, how long, and we couldn't really locate where he was taken to. And if not that, I knew the young man, and the young man that called me of a local NGO knew me, we would not have known that this young man had been taken away. But the young man had to alert the press and use some NGOs. 3 weeks later, he was released. But there are several other young people who may be innocent, who are taken we will not return. So we don't even have the statistics.
I have also a couple of questions to you again. My first question about the regional differences, as thanks to you and some of us knew in advance that you have primarily 4 regions and languages. So if you try to relate the opportunities and obstacles at the same time to building society, what are the main differences, if any, exist, of course? My second question is related to the first one. Your activities are actually covering which areas of the country?
I'm not sure if I understood the first question. Well, regional obstacles. Well, regional and ethnic obstacles. Yeah, there are, especially if we try to expand the meaning of violence. You know, the nature of the political system so dominates 3 major ethnic groups. Also accounts for the type of policies that generate resistance from the oil-bearing communities of the Niger Delta. The people there believe that the state is in the hands of the 3 major ethnic groups. Consequently, the policies that are formulated by the state at the center are policies meant to protect the interest of the 3 major ethnic groups. For instance, the land belongs to the federal government by law, and the oil in the land also belongs to the federal government. And the people believe that this is unfair because the impact of the oil industry, the negative impact of the oil industry is felt more by the local communities where oil is exploited. And so they think that it's an ethnic problem because some 3 ethnic groups believe that they do not have any right to the ownership of the land, to the ownership of the oil and the land. And they also believe that the policies, fiscal policies that have to do with the share of the wealth accruing from oil is also skewed in favor of the major ethnic groups. For instance, the northern part of Nigeria has more local governments and states, and sharing of revenues accruing from oil. Nigeria depends on oil. Over 90% of revenues accruing to Nigeria come from oil. And so the policy of sharing is on the basis of the number of local governments and states. And so if the North has more local governments, they have more states, it means they have more of the revenue accruing from oil to the North. And the people of the Niger Delta think that this is unfair. You know, but we must establish the fact that there are legitimate grievances, and then there are criminal activities or criminals who have hijacked or who use legitimate grievances to commit crimes. So these obstacles are there. And I also think that the policies, the type of policies existing to a large extent has allowed the development of the crisis from the stage, the non-violent stage that it was, to a violent stage.
Thank you. Just take a few minutes. Dr. Glenn Page has agreed to share with us, is a non-killing society possible in Haiti?
Since Dr. Max Paul couldn't come, I thought I could share with you the experience of meeting him, how our relationship started, and what happened in Haiti. Dr. Paul is an anthropologist, native Haitian. His languages are Creole, French, German, and English. He studied 14 years in Bonn, German philosophy. And his wife is German, and the daughter, product of that marriage. He helped to establish the Ethnography Museum in Port-au-Prince. He's the Dean of College of Social Humanities, Jean Price Mars University, and in Port-au-Prince. He found the book, Non-Killing Political Science, on the internet, like many of you did, because the text is posted free in English. Found it, and he had I also should mention that Dr. Paul is a voodoo priest too. And so he found the book and he said, oh, you know, I want to associate with the Center for Global Nonviolence, and I'd like to translate the book French. So he founded legally the Caribbean Center for Global Nonviolence and Sustainable Development, Centre Caribéen pour la Non-Violence Globale et le Développement Durable. And he legally with his board of directors and goes through the formality of it. And then he published, he translated the book into French. And there was a launching of the book in, I think it was 2005. I'm getting a little fuzzy on dates these days. Was it 2004? Okay, Glenn reminds me. In a Hotel Montana in Port-au-Prince, where the U.S. security force was established, because there were all the murders and killings in the barrios and actually slums. Terrible time. And he launched the book there. Glenda and I both had the privilege of being there when they had this release of the French book. It was an extremely moving experience. I would say about 100, maybe 150 people. It was a time of crisis in the city. And they put banners in the streets of Port-au-Prince. Their CGND, their own acronym. And then the book, Non-Violence, Non Meurtre, Non-Violence, No Violence, No Killing, a book release at such and such a date, Hotel Montana. They had it up 3-4 days, going down the main street. So, of course, several people spoke. A historian, political leader, Dr. Paul, of course, a wonderful literary figure, poet, and Professor de Rosier, name means of the roses, wonderful experience. The next part of this story is a miracle. All of this happening is some kind of miracle, no doubt about it. Pastor Mabwe found the book on the internet in English, which he reads very well. I caught with him in English, and he writes to me in French, and I get my dictionary out, and we got along all right. And so he's in the Francophone area. So I said to Max Paul, all right, let's send 2-3 copies of the French book into the Congo, to Burundi, to Pastor Mabwe. So he got a couple copies. And then it went from Haiti back to Africa. I should back up a little bit to Haitian history from 1893 to 1904. The first anti-colonial revolution for liberty, it precedes the American Revolution. No, I got to go way back for that. 1795 to 1804. I'm a century behind. But it's the first anti-slave revolution. French colony was the richest colony of France. Sugar production and everything. There's a wonderful book called the Black Jacobins, about this whole history of revolutionary history from France. Anyway, the revolutionary slogan of the Toussaint Louverture, General was one, and Dessalines, a lot of famous Haitian revolutionaries, and very brutal French officers sent down by Napoleon and others, even after the French Revolution. Really vicious, I mean, slaughtering people, massacring people, killing so on. So the revolutionary slogan was, cut off their heads with kopke tet bule kai. Chop off their heads and burn their houses. That was the revolutionary slogan of slave revolution against the French colonial domination. So Max Paul, at this particular launching of the book on non-killing, they had a slogan, respecte mun pati kai. Respect humanity, respect human life, and build houses. So rather than chop off head and burn their houses, it respect life and build houses. This is his idea. All right, it goes into and the Haitian slaves, where did they come from? Africa. And the book is taken up by a Haitian leader with African roots, and another African leader finds out about this non-killing, and it goes back from the slave rebellion back into the Congo, Burundi, Rwanda. Pastor Mabwe takes it, he runs with it, he's going to talk more about it. And then he's turning it into Kiswahili so every villager can read it, not in French and not in English. You'll see, he's going to report after me. That you can see it's kind of a miracle. You couldn't plan that. It happened spontaneously and so forth. And when I was at that meeting, I don't want this to become a cult of personality. I cringe every time I mention. I know it's polite and culturally, and you're being very gracious with me. But, you know, it's not me. It's not Glenn Page, a doctor or Professor Glenn or something. There's something happening with this fusion of the idea of non-killing and the arguments as to why it is plausible. Think that it is possible and that we can figure out ways. All the answers are not there. But in Haiti, I'll give you just an experience. It's about me. One of the historians stood up, and I was at a table like this. He was speaking at the ashram, and he took up a poster of Toussaint Louverture. Have you ever seen Toussaint Louverture, the liberator of Haiti, with his uniform? It's a French uniform. General, he's up there, and he has this wonderful, first leader. And he holds this up to the audience, and he points over to me, and he says, Professor Page, you are the Toussaint Louverture of the 21st century. Unbelievable. Just couldn't. Can't answer that. So, I'm going to stop there, but I thought I'd share since Max can't come. You'd love him. He's so wonderful. And I think we really miss him, but I wanted to share a bit about this. And you can find his website, www, and then it's ccngd.org. ngd.org. Center Caribbean Global Nonviolent and Development. ccn.org. Have some background and contact with him. He's the founder. We now have 3 affiliates of the Center for Global Nonviolence. The first one was in Haiti by Dr. Max Paul. Second one is in Nigeria, Center for Global Nonviolence, Nigeria, founder, president, Fidelis Allen, addressed us. The third one is the Center for Global Nonviolence, Africa of the Great Lake, Grand Lac, founded by Pasteur Mabwe. Now these are affiliates of our small board of directors, Center for Global Nonviolence, which was founded in 1994. These spontaneously came up. Now we're hearing some reports of their local activities. I just wanted to share that since Max come here.
Thank you very much. Still have about 15 more minutes if you have any questions or comments about Haiti, Nigeria, or the Philippines.
I just want to talk about the point of Charles, the question Charles was asking. I was trained as a nonviolent trained by Dr. Lafayette and Charles, and I think that Charles was asking what happens if the leaders don't believe and they don't not trying to create a nonviolent society, and if that implies that it's not possible. I think that the point is that if those leaders don't want to lead us towards a nonviolent or non-killing society, people have the power to change their leaders. And secondly, that we have to be sure what kind of leaders we are talking about. Usually, when we talk about leadership, we are talking about formal leaders. I mean, the ones that are in power, they are elected, but there is sure another kind of leadership. Gandhi wasn't the president of India. Martin Luther King wasn't the president here. It's the informal leadership. People that behave in such a way that many people follow them. So I think nonviolence can provide the kind of leadership for anybody that may not have official or formal power to produce change. And I think I'm right, Charles. Were you going after something like that?
Yeah, I want to know what people
thank you very much. Very well said.
Yes, I was leaning toward what place do the people play in making decisions about a non-killing society, and is it delegated to the leadership? But I can accept your answer for now.
Are nonviolent societies possible in the Great Lakes, Africa? And we call on Pasteur Mabwe, Lucien, and to help translate, we've got Mr. Bagula Buhendwa.
Bon après-midi.
Good afternoon.
Nous avons encore l'occasion d'être devant vous.
We are given again opportunity to be in front of you.
Nous en remercions grandement.
We are thankful for this occasion.
Dans l'avant-midi, nous avons parlé que nous venons des pays des Grands Lacs.
Early this morning, we told you we are from the Great Lakes region,
qui est composé de Burundi, Congo et du Rwanda.
The Great Lakes region is Burundi, Rwanda, and the Congo DRC.
Ces trois pays ont connu une histoire très mouvementée en violence.
These three countries has known a bad movement with violence and killing.
Leur histoire précoloniale et leur histoire post-coloniale est pleine de violence et de meurtres.
Their pre-colonial history and post-colonial history is full of violation activity.
Par exemple, à l'époque précoloniale, au Burundi et au Rwanda,
for instance, at pre-colonial time in Rwanda and in Burundi,
certains rois devraient faire des conquêtes guerrières pour s'affirmer.
Some kings had to do war conquest themselves, how strong they are.
Pour l'histoire post-coloniale, sont succédés des périodes de cycles de violence.
For the pre-colonial history, they have come also another moment of violence.
Par exemple, pour le Burundi, je peux citer les dates de 1965.
For instance, for Burundi, I will point out the date from 1965.
1969, 72, 88.
1972, 1988, 1993, and 2000.
Pour le Rwanda, 59, 63, 90, 94.
For Rwanda, 1959, 1963, 1990, and 1994.
Pour le Congo, 60, 67, 76, 88, 96, 2004.
For Congo, is 1960, 1967, 1976, 1988, 1996, and 2004.
Toutes ces périodes se coïncident avec des meurtres en masse.
All these periods are periods that have known many killings.
J'ai dit précédemment environ 6 millions d'habitants en 15 ans.
I said that it's almost 6,000 people have been killed in 15 years.
Est-ce que c'est et puis dans ces pays, il y a des méthodes inouïes pour tuer les gens.
And beyond that, in those countries, they have some methods to kill people in a very bad way you can't imagine.
Par exemple, on entoure les gens, un pneu sur le cou et on brûle le pneu.
For instance, people are surround a tire and they burn the tire. The person is burned with a tire.
Aussi, on tue quelqu'un avec un bateau pointu pour le transpercer de la tête jusqu'en bas.
And also sometimes they kill someone taking a point stick and taking from the head up to the buttock.
Bon, je vous épargne de ces horreurs, s'il vous plaît.
I apologize for such kind of words, but it's the truth.
Les maîtres se commettent partout et par devoirs parfois.
Murders are committed everywhere and with neighbors.
Est-ce que vraiment cette région peut-elle développer des sociétés meurtrières?
Can really this society develop a murder society?
Est-ce que le Rwanda, que vous connaissez, le Burundi, le Congo, peuvent-elles développer des sociétés qui ne tuent pas?
Can you imagine about Rwanda, Burundi and the Congo that can become a society with non-violence ideology of living together?
Quoique cet état de violence, nous pouvons quand même dire ceci.
Regardless this violence, we can say this.
La majorité des Burundais, Congolais et Rwandais n'ont pas tué et ne tuent pas.
The majority of Rwandese, Burundis and Congolese, they don't kill and they didn't kill.
Nous avons vu des Tutsis et des Tutsis qui cachaient les Hutus.
We saw Tutsi hiding Hutu and we saw hiding Tutsi.
Je rappelle que Hutu et Tutsi, ce sont les grandes tribus là-bas qui s'entretuent.
As you know from the genocide of 1994 from Rwanda, Hutu and Tutsi are the two tribes that are really two enemies and who kill each other.
Nous avons vu aussi dans ces régions des croyants qui n'ont pas osé tuer.
We have seen also believers who didn't kill.
Par exemple, les témoins de Jéhovah n'ont pas osé tuer à cause de leurs croyances religieuses.
For instance, Jehovah's Witnesses and Muslims, they didn't kill due to their belief.
Aussi, nous avons vu des assassins qui ont été guéris après leur passage à l'hôpital Père Gentil de Bujumbura.
We have seen also some killers who were healed by other people when we passed at the hospital of Bujumbura.
Et aussi, ont aboli la peine de mort.
This country has also abolished the pen, has abolished the sanction of death. I think in Nigeria.
Et puis, dans ce pays aussi, nous avons des individus qui se sont donnés corps et âme pour lutter contre la violence.
And in those countries, we meet people who really worked hard to avoid violence.
Par exemple, M. Catalico, il a beaucoup lutté pour l'avènement d'une société qui ne tue pas.
For instance, Catalico worked very hard for this problem of non-killing.
Aussi, dans ces régions maintenant, nous voyons la naissance des partis qui défendent la non-violence.
From this region also we see many that defend violence.
Par exemple, les DPS.
For instance, one of the political party, UDPS, the so-called Democratic Party Congo.
La société civile aussi peut émerger la non-violence et peut participer.
And also some social, civil societies, also they defend this problem of killing.
Parmi la société civile, citons une grande place qui est occupée par Centre for Global Non-Violence Afrique des Grands Lacs.
Among those civil societies, let us point out the CGNV, the Center for Global Non-Violence in the Great Lakes region.
Cette grande association est née évidemment en 1999.
This big association is founded in 1999.
Et en 2005, elle est entrée au Burundi et au Rwanda.
And in 2005, it expanded its branch in Rwanda and Burundi.
Elle a donné des enseignements de non-violence à Uvira, Baraka, Bibokoboko.
They trained people in non-violence in Uvira, Baraka, and Bibokoboko.
Et elle a poursuivi les enseignements de non-violence à Kabumbe, Lusambo, Malinde, Kikonde, Kazimia.
And they continued their training in Kabumbe, Lusambo, Malinde, and Kikonde, and Kazimia.
Il fait l'enseignement à travers le complexe scolaire Martin Luther King.
They try to do also their training through their school, Martin Luther King.
Ça, c'est au niveau du Congo.
This is at the level of Congo, DRC.
Au Burundi, elle donne des enseignements à Kayanza, à Makamba, à
In Burundi, they give their training in Kayanza, Makamba, and Gitega.
Au Rwanda, c'est à Kigali et à Gisenyi.
In Rwanda, they extend their training in Kigali and Gisenyi.
Nous avons envoyé les bandes vidéo du professeur Page Glenn aux organes de presse.
We sent some video tapes to Professor Glad
au Burundi et au Congo.
From Burundi and from Congo.
Nous soutenons la bonne gouvernance. Nous sommes des observateurs dans les élections de ces pays.
We sustain the good governance and we do observe during the elections in these countries.
Contre la pauvreté un peu partout au Rwanda et au Burundi.
We fight poverty in Rwanda, Burundi, and Congo.
Oui. Que des Grands Lacs peut amener une société nouvelle.
Yes, I believe the Great Lakes region in Africa can form a society without violence.
C'est une œuvre pionnière. Nous allons l'assumer.
It's a pioneering work, but we are going to assume it.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much.
Maintenant, nous allons entrer en détail de quelques de nos actions que nous menons en Afrique des Grands Lacs.
We are going to enter deeply in some of our actions that we conduct in Baraka.
Nous allons commencer par un séminaire que nous avons tenu à Baraka.
We are going to start from a seminar that we held in Baraka.
Que nous avons appelé Bâtissons Fizi non meurtrier.
That we called Let Us Build Fizi, a non-murder society.
Fizi, c'est un territoire du Congo.
Fizi is one among the districts of the Congo DRC.
C'est une zone très meurtrière.
It's a very dangerous district.
Toutes les guerres s'y éternisent.
All the wars start from there.
Et c'est une zone qu'on appelle la zone des Mai Mai.
It's a district that is called district of Mai Mai. About Mai Mai.
Mai Mai, ce sont des combattants autochtones, se servant des gris-gris et qui se battent étant nus.
Those Mai Mai are indigenous that uses charms, amulets, and they fight naked.
Et aussi, il y a 9 groupes armés qui se combattent.
In Fizi, there are also 9 armed groups that are fighting currently.
À Fizi, il y a des meurtres, des assassinats, des viols, des atrocités de tout genre.
In Fizi, there are murders, rape, killings of all the way we can enumerate.
Par exemple, 215 Banyamulenge ont été tués par machette.
For instance, 215 Banyamulenge has been killed by sword.
Plus de 1000 personnes ont été enfermées et brûlées vifs par les Banyamulenge.
More than 1,000 people have been locked in a house and they were burned alive by the Banyamulenge.
3 villages ont été rasés par une fusillade.
3 villages have been exterminated by guns.
80 hommes ont été violés devant leurs femmes.
80 men has been violated in front of their wives.
La liste est trop longue et trop macabre.
The list is very long and very sad.
Donc c'est pourquoi nous avons organisé un séminaire public pour cette région.
That's why we organized a public seminar for all this region.
Nous avons invité la tribu des Babembe, qui est une tribu la plus féroce du Congo.
We invite the tribe of Babembe, that is a ferocious tribe in Congo.
Et nous avons aussi invité d'autres populations.
Invite also other population.